Speaking of the assembly of the elders, both chief priests and scribes, who had falsely condemned Yeshua of blasphemy. Luke chapter 23. And the whole company of them rose up and brought him before Pilate. And they began to accuse him, saying, We found this man perverting our nation, and forbidding to be giving taxes to Caesar, and saying that he himself is anointed a king. And Pilate asked him, saying, Art thou the king of the Yehudim? And he answered him and said, Thou sayest. And Pilate said to the chief priests and the multitudes, I find no fault in this man. But they were being the more urgent, saying, He stirreth up the people, teaching throughout all Judea, and beginning from Galilee even to this place. But when Pilate heard it, he asked whether the man were a Galilean. And when he knew that he was of Herodes's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herodes, who himself also was in Hierosolymos in those days. Now when Herodes saw Yeshua, he was exceeding glad, for he was of a long time desirous to see him, because he had heard concerning him, and he hoped to see some miracle done by him. And he questioned him in many words, but he answered him nothing. And the chief priests and the scribes stood, vehemently accusing him. And Herodes with his soldiers set him at naught, and mocked him, and having arrayed him in brilliant apparel, sent him back to Pilate. And Herodes and Pilate became friends with each other that very day, for before they were at enmity between themselves. And Pilate called together the chief priests and the rulers of the people, and said to them, Ye brought to me this man, as one that perverteth the people, and behold, I, having examined him before you, found no fault in this man concerning those things whereof ye accuse him. No, nor yet Herodes, for he sent him back to us. And behold, nothing worthy of death hath been done by him. I will therefore chastise him, and release him. But they cried out all together, saying, Away with this man, and release to us Barabbas, one who for a certain insurrection made in the city, and for murder, was cast into prison. And Pilate spoke to them again, desiring to release Yeshua. But they shouted, saying, Crucify, crucify him! And he said to them the third time, Why, what evil hath this man done? I have found no cause of death in him. I will therefore chastise him, and release him. But they were urgent with loud voices, asking that he might be crucified. And their voices prevailed. And Pilate sentenced for their request to happen. And he released him that for insurrection and murder had been cast into prison, whom they asked for. But Yeshua he delivered up to their will. And when they led him away, they laid hold upon one Simon of Cyrene, coming from the country, and laid on him the cross, to bear it after Yeshua. And a great multitude of the people were following him, and of women who were bewailing him and lamenting him. But Yeshua, turning to them, said, Daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming, in which they shall say, Blessed are the barren, and the wombs that never bare, and the breasts that never gave suck. Then shall they begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, Cover us. For if they do these things in the green tree, what shall become in the dry? And there were also 2 others, malefactors, led with him to be put to death. And when they came to the place which is called Skull, there they crucified him and the malefactors, one on the right-hand side and the other on the left. And Yeshua said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And parting his garments among them, they cast lots. And the people stood beholding, and the rulers also scoffed at him, saying, He saved others, let him save himself, if this is the anointed of the God, his chosen. And the soldiers also mocked him, coming to him, offering him vinegar, and saying, If thou art the king of the Yehudim, save thyself. And there was also a superscription over him, This is the king of the Yehudim. And one of the malefactors that were hanged railed on him, saying, Art not thou the anointed? Save thyself and us. But the other answered, and rebuking him, said, Dost thou not even fear the God, seeing thou art in the same condemnation? And we, on the one hand, justly, for we are receiving the worthy things of what deeds we perpetrated. But on the other hand, this man hath done nothing amiss. And he said, Yeshua, remember me when thou comest in thy kingdom. And he said to him, Amen, to thee I say today, with me thou shalt be in the paradise. And it was now about the 6th hour, and a darkness came over the whole land until the 9th hour, the sun's light failing, and the veil of the temple was torn in the midst. And Yeshua, crying with a loud voice, said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And having said this, he expired. And when the 100 ruler saw what was done, he glorified the God, saying, Certainly this was a righteous man. And all the multitudes that came together to this sight, when they beheld the things that were done, returned smiting their breasts. And all his acquaintances and the women that followed with him from Galilee stood afar off, seeing these things. And behold, a man named Yosef, who was a counselor, a good and righteous man. He had not consented to their counsel and deed, a man of Haramataiah, a city of the Yehudim, who was looking for the kingdom of the God. This man went to Pilate and asked for the body of Yeshua. And he took it down and wrapped it in a linen cloth and laid him in a tomb that was hewn in stone, where never man had yet lain. And it was the day of the preparation, and the Shabbath drew on. And the women who had come with him out of Galilee followed after, and beheld the tomb, and how his body was laid. And they returned, and prepared spices and ointments, and on the Shabbath they rested according to the command.